Welcome to Flickering Myth Gaming's 7-day replay. I'm your host, Alan Christian, and it's Shooter Week, so it had to be me. It had to be me. We had Realms Deep last weekend, we had QuakeCon this weekend, and we have some Halo news that's maybe not news. Let's jump right into it. Like I said at the jump, last weekend was Realms Deep. If you don't know what Realms Deep is, it's kind of the indie boomer shooter con. This is the second year of Realms Deep. It's kind of an online presentation convention. This year it was 4.5 hours long. It might have been that long last year, I don't quite remember. But, oof, guys, don't do that again. Because it's 4.5 hours of some really cool content stitched together with people who think dropping F-bombs is a replacement for having charisma. And that's coming from me. So, you know. But fantastic stuff came from it. I could sit here and list everything that was cool, but we'd be here all day. I will say check out Cultic. That was the biggest, new announcement that got dropped, and Dread Templar got dropped into early access, and that thing rocks. So go check that out. Go look into what happened at Realms Deep if you're interested in retro throwback shooters. I cannot give you everything here. Like I said, 4.5 hours. But you don't have to watch all 4.5 hours. Just, go find a good little highlight page. Our next two stories come from QuakeCon. Let's go with my least favorite first. That's the way to go. Skyrim is getting another release, an enhanced edition. Forgive me for not committing to memory what this particular version, this particular release of Skyrim is called. I do know that it is going to be a free upgrade if you already have the special edition. So that's cool. But other than that, this is yet another release of Skyrim, which I cannot believe. It's been 10 years since Skyrim, coming up in November. And would they just keep re-releasing the worst Elder Scrolls game over and over and over again? Next out of QuakeCon, really it was one of the first things out of QuakeCon, if not the first thing. We got a shadow drop of Quake Enhanced Edition, or Quake Remastered, and I don't really know what they're calling this one, or if it's really got a different title other than just Quake. But we finally get Quake on consoles. We haven't had the first Quake on a console since the Sega Saturn and the Nintendo 64 back in 97, 98, as I think when those ports came out. Other than that, we have not had Quake 1. We've had Quake 4 come to Xbox 360. We had Quake 3 come to the Dreamcast. And Quake 2 technically came to the 360 as a bundle pack with Quake 4 for a limited time. But Quake has largely not been on consoles. And that's... was Quake Wars? Was that on there? I don't know. That's a tragedy. But now, my favorite Quake, should be everybody's favorite Quake 2 Blows, is finally on consoles. It is also a free update on Steam. I guess anywhere else that you bought it. It's on Game Pass on Xbox. Quake 2 and 3 also came to Game Pass for PC. This is wonderful. There's no other Quake announcements. I think maybe people were expecting a new Quake game to be announced, but this does seem like they are priming the pump to actually bring back the namesake of QuakeCon. Yes, we all got a little too burnt out on Quake there in the late 90s, early 2000s. But it is time. It's time for it to make a real return. And I don't mean Quake Champions. Lastly, Microsoft announced this week that parts of Halo Infinite will be delayed. Parts. Those parts being the Forge and co-op campaign. Those will come later as free updates. So at launch, you're only going to have the single-player campaign and the traditional Halo multiplayer. I've seen some takes on this that just say that the whole game should be delayed. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. One, Microsoft needs this game to come out. They need that Halo clout to start moving Xboxes, which are moving at a much brisker pace than they previously were. They're kind of closing the gap on PS5 sales. They're doing okay. I don't think that this game should be delayed. I think coming out with just the single player and the multiplayer at launch, I think that that's perfectly fine. And as long as they make sure that they're adding those features later, I think there's plenty of value up front in just the multiplayer, which is going to be free, by the way. You don't even have to have Xbox Live to get in on that. And the single player campaign, those are what people really come for. And yes, a lot of people do love to co-op online the Halo games. I know many people that do, and that should definitely be there. But as long as it's coming, I don't think this is a huge blow. And I sure as hell do not think that this game needs to be delayed. This game, as long as what they are releasing is in a polished, playable, and finished state, taking the time to make sure that the other smaller parts of it are good down the road, I think is perfectly fine. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments on that. And upcoming games this week. 24th sees the release of Aliens Fireteam Elite, which is the kind of Friday the 13th, Dead by Daylight-ish kind of co-op, asymmetrical, one of those games again, except this time with an Aliens pastiche on it. So that's great. That's coming to everything but the Switch. We also have Rims Racing. That's coming to everything but the Switch. And we have King's Bounty 2, which seems to be coming to last gen, the Switch, PC. August 25th sees the long-awaited Psychonauts 2. That's coming to multiple PC platforms, including Mac, apparently. Of course, it's coming to the PS4, and definitely, of course, it's coming to the Microsoft platforms, as Microsoft now owns Double Fine. Psychonauts 1 is a fantastic game, and I'm definitely looking forward to this one. And August 27th sees another long-awaited sequel, as No More Heroes 3 comes to the Nintendo Switch. Alright guys, and my suggestion this week, I was really hoping to have played enough Axiom Verge 2 for that to be my suggestion, but I'm enjoying it. I've been playing a little bit of it, but I just haven't got deep enough to make a hard suggestion yet. I'm sure I will. I'm sure you will see that in this slot in the coming weeks. But man, they dropped Quake. And I've been playing Quake on my Switch. So that's my hard recommend. One, Quake, anything that can run well on the Switch, being on the Switch, is always going to get a recommend from me. And Quake being one of my favorite games, being on, one of my favorite consoles at the moment, or one of my favorite consoles of all time, that you can't beat. But, if you haven't played Quake, play it on whatever you can play it on now. If you've got Game Pass, load it up. If you got it, it's on the Switch for $10. I think it's on the PlayStation for the same. I think it's on the PC for the same. Honestly, if you have a PC, that's the way to do it. Because I think that the core game and everything and all the additional stuff that they've put on the consoles, wonderful. And I think it plays just as great on a console as it does on the PC. But the PC comes with the mods. And there is 25 years. Quake is 25 this year. There's 25 years worth of mods on the PC. And I think that's well worth your time. Endless amounts of content. One way or the other. If you haven't played Quake, now's the time to do it. If you are already a fan of Quake, you probably never stop playing Quake. Alright, that's going to do it for this week, guys. Hopefully next week we are back to our regular format of Gerald, James, and I being in the same room producing these together. It's a whole lot more fun that way, I promise you, for us and probably for you. We've had a little bit of a quarantine situation going on, but I think things should be back to normal next week, and we hope to see you then. Like, subscribe, all that stuff, but most of all, comment down below. Let us know what you thought about any of this. And, if you guys want to, play some Quake multiplayer, we'll get it together. Thanks, guys. See you next week.